Good morning, everybody. Employability and essential skills is a huge topic, and it's one of the areas of work that I'm particularly interested in. And we've got here at CDN a very vibrant essential skills and volunteering development network, and it achieves a lot of work and helps us to host large national events, and we usually have one, or in the past we've definitely had one in November and in June, and a lot of the information, presentations, discussion points from those large events are on our website, and I'd encourage you to have a wee look at that. And I did send a handout via Billy with some links on it that you might find helpful. So during the course of the next 40 minutes or so, what I'm aiming to do is explore the language and significance of employability and essential skills, and discuss student awareness of these skills and some of the policies, reports, and also some case studies that could help inform practices within your own college, and then sharing some other ideas from the case studies we have from our award winners and what is highlighted in Education Scotland reports. So it's probably quite a lot to get through, but don't worry, I'm not going to talk all of the time, and I'd like you to get involved a wee bit as well with your own thoughts. So in terms of what do we mean by employability, I'm not going to read all this out, but that is a definition that was taken from the Scottish Government publication Skills for Scotland, a lifelong skills strategy, and that was way back in 2007, which seems like a long time ago now, but it is the basis on which a lot of our subsequent policies and definitions have come from. Are you quite familiar with that definition? If you'd like to maybe just put something in the chat box there, that would be quite helpful. So some of you yes, some of you no. Okay. So most of you are. I think as well, if we look at the whole landscape of the definition within Curriculum for Excellence, we've got skills for learning, life and work, we've got employability skills, we've got essential skills, we've got soft skills, and I think that there's a range of different words that are used, but kind of all refers to similar things. What published last year in September was Education Scotland's, I can't remember the exact title, but it was about employability skills in Scotland's colleges. And, you know, some of the quotes from that was, it was important that all college courses, and particularly courses with fewer positive employment destinations, so perhaps less of the vocational ones, integrate employability, careers and life skills so that people are better able to compete in the labour market when they leave college. So it is quite a big challenge for us. And then also within that report, it said that employers seek personal skills on an equal level to technical skills and qualifications. And the personal skills were defined as attitude to work, good communication, people skills, teamwork and problem solving. And those bullet points there, those skills are probably ones that we're all really conscious of in terms of delivering our courses and encouraging our learners to work together. What I'd like to do now is show you a very short video that was developed by Forth Valley College. It is on our website and it's one that they're happy for us to use and to share with the sector. And after you've viewed the video, or during the course of the video, if you'd like to just add any thoughts you might have, any reflections on what is being covered in the chat box.
At your time at Forth Valley College, you will be working towards gaining qualifications in your area of interest. However, as well as these qualifications, there is something vital, and this is core and essential skills.
Every employer is looking like you can perform to a certain standard, be able to write reports, letters, be able to understand text, journals, instructions, be able to work with software, be able to research for information, and be able to perform and understand budgets, take stock. All these come into core and essential skills class, and we work towards a standard that you're going to be employed.
The core and essential skills we are teaching you are required by employers. Up next are some employers who will emphasise on the importance of this.
When we are recruiting for a new candidate, regardless of where that is across the organisation, there are different forms that it can come in, electronically or hard copy. Hard copy can either be by way of a covering letter and a CV, or it can be via the company application form. In all instances, the application needs to be very clear and concise in terms of what the candidate is applying for. So in relation to emails, keep it professional. Generally, just proper use of the name with and it doesn't really matter what the email provider, service provider is, but a sensible or professional name. I would always encourage a candidate to think about the organisation that they are applying to and to tailor their application and think about what the employer may be expecting or requiring. Then there is the way in which they conduct themselves during the course of the interview. Are they clear and articulate in terms of their speech? Can they actually string a sentence together and come up with a reasonably logical set of answers to the questions that are put to them? Have they done some research on the property to ask some valid questions at the end, either that's about the role or us as an organisation? We would expect all of our employees, regardless of role, to have at least basic rudimentary numeracy ability. Every single role that we have on property requires some element of working with numbers. So even if you are working as a kitchen porter, as part of the back of house support services team, there'll be some crockery and glassware and cutlery stock check that you'll be involved with, so you at least need to be able to count and add up or subtract. Equally, for anybody who is operationally based serving the customers, they'll be using some of the billing systems, so they need to be able to work those appropriately and know that the numbers add up at the end. So punctuality is key. We have had a number of incidents where people have turned up late on a number of occasions. Invariably, we would deal with that informally to begin with, but if it's a repeat offence, then it gets escalated in terms of how seriously we review it. So people have left the organisation as a consequence of repeated lateness or poor timekeeping and attendance. What candidates really need to be conscious of is how their social media or online profile is presented and how accessible that is for a prospective employer or an existing employer.
We would expect a candidate to have done some preparation into the background of our business before they come to the interview. That would show an interest in the type of work we do on site. It would also show that they believe that their skill set could be in some way married to what we're looking for within our own company. During the interview process, we expect candidates to have put some effort into the presentation of how they will appear at the interview. First impressions can be very important for companies when they're interviewing individuals. Communication skills are very important for us in our business. Verbal communications, written communications and electronic communications. Verbal communications are very important because often you're the first person who will contact the public. Written communications because often you have to send letters out on behalf of our business. And electronic communications because these communications are what we use primarily as a function within site, communicating between different functions. The numeracy skills that we use in this place are varied. In our finance group, basic numeracy skills for numbers is important. In manufacturing, numeracy skills for calculating weights and measures for raw materials and chemicals is significantly important to our business.
Come with a little bit of passion and pride and enthusiasm, a willingness to learn, and the world quite literally is your oyster.
Any thoughts on the video? I think one of the things that struck me was when the employer talked about punctuality and timekeeping and how that was actually key. When I was in another college earlier on this week, and we were discussing student behaviour and what was problematic, just about every person was talking about students coming in late or non-attendance or poor attendance. And we did discuss equipping them through college for employment and how repeatedly being late wasn't particularly helpful in terms of their next transition. Do you think that's a video you might consider using with your students or showing to your students? Okay, well it is. Oh, that's good. So it's quite concise, I think, from my perspective, and I think it actually says quite a lot to our learners. Yeah, developing your own one would be quite good because then you can use local employers that maybe that your own students would be able to relate to. In the meantime, that one sits on our website, and Forth Valley College are quite happy for us to use it. Okay. Yeah, I think I thought it was actually shorter than it was, but I noticed there it was 5 minutes. I suppose you could use a part of it rather than the whole thing. Okay, so moving on a wee bit, that's the title of the report I couldn't remember a few minutes ago. The Development of Learner Employability in Scotland's Colleges by Education Scotland. We did have Sheila Page, who's now retired, debate that report at an event last June, and then John Laird had examined it with delegates at an event last November and again this June. And his reflections on the report and bringing it to life is actually on a video on our website and, as George said before, on our YouTube channel. So there are a variety of resources there that might help to bring some of these policies and reports to life that we might not be able to achieve, just doing a webinar. But that is one of the definitions that he was talking about there in the report, the broad range of skills, behaviours, capacities and knowledge which develop learners' ability to engage positively with employment options. So what I would like us to think about now, and if you can add some thoughts to the chat box, what is our understanding of these skills, the broad range of skills, behaviours, capacities and knowledge, which complement the industry-specific vocational and technical skills? Are there ones in addition to the ones that we heard in that video? Or what ones do you particularly focus on with your learners? Ability to relate to others, I think, is really important, regardless of what industry area you're going to aspire to work within. I mean, some jobs are about working with the public, but others are about team working within the industry area as well. And I think work ethic, I mean, I think in that video, somebody talked about willingness to learn, being committed. Yeah, workplace core skills evidence embedded in SQA portfolios. To what extent or how do you ensure that your learners are clear about those skills that they are gaining, the core skills and other skills? And attitudes can come through in terms of learning as well. Chrissy, what do you mean by assessment planning? I think as well, we'll wait until Chrissy's finished typing, but in the meantime, planning to meet the core skills evidence in what, yeah, so that's directly related to the actual experience that learners are gaining in the workplace settings. What was it? I was thinking about something else there. And oh yeah, the Essential Skills Network, I've continually over the years debated not just the skills and some of the changing nature of skills, but actually helping learners to understand what they're developing and being able to articulate that and also to evidence those skills so that when they come to the interview situation or the application situation, they have a clear understanding with examples of skills that they have, and also integrating with that skills and attitudes that they develop out with their formal education experience and in volunteering or community life or through their hobbies and personal networks as well. I'll move on now to thematic research that SQA did over the last couple of years. And they discovered, and what they were calling it 21st century skills, and that there was a shift in emphasis towards more process-based skills and looking at different kinds of strategies, much more collaboration, co-creation of knowledge, online collaboration, and technology and digital skills as an overarching skill set. Is that something that you've been considering in terms of your own delivery? Or indeed, are there other kinds of skills that you think will be key for the future? Metacognitive skills. See, I think some of the language around this is quite difficult. And that's really the whole thing about thinking skills and developing minds and thinking about thinking. Some of the research is suggesting that if we create learners who are able to analyse and evaluate and think about things more, they'll be more able to work between different employment areas, in that now we're expecting learners to have career changes and shift careers throughout their working life, which at the moment seems to be getting longer and longer and longer, which I feel quite cheated about. So that's about being much more able and much more flexible and adaptable if you develop these kinds of cognitive skills. A lot of the some of the other things that were emphasised were like societal skills, community skills, citizenship, values, and then sometimes you see the words like about critical thinking and creativity as well. Is that making some kind of sense in terms of your own context? Okay. So we had the SQA research, and then we have also developing the young workforce and Scotland's youth employment strategy, which was launched a few years ago, and that has provided an additional focus on developing and utilising skills effectively, and then being able to transfer between different contexts, so between the college situation and the work placements or work experience, and then into paid employment or into volunteering, or whatever transitions our learners are making. And then a further report from the OECD, and that was talking about too many young people leave education without having acquired the right skills. And again, they were talking specifically about literacy and numeracy, which came through quite clearly in the video that we've just seen. And then the whole thing about not enough people having experience in the world of work. And I think with the Funding Council's work placement standards for colleges, and as Chrissy said, they are planning to meet the core skills evidence in the workplace tasks, is really, really key. And I know the Funding Council are developing a toolkit to go along with the work placement standards to help people plan, learners to plan what they're going to gain from their work and be able to reflect their work experience and reflect back on that. Also, you've got essential skills in every lesson with a poster in all rooms, so that will remind people of what they're there to achieve and to gain alongside their formal qualifications. And yeah, the role plays and interview skills, that's really important as well, because it can be quite a daunting experience to go into that first of all. So what else? The work placement standards, which we've talked about, and employer involvement and engagement in courses. In what ways do you involve employers in the development of your courses or assessment or creating projects for learners? Do you have different employers that you work with? Again, on our website, we have an example of essential skills poster that was developed a few years ago that tried to capture things like employability skills, personal attributes, professional skills, attitudes. So, I mean, again, checking out the links in the handout that Billy will give to you, you would be able to see that. And again, anything that CDN produces is available for you to adapt and use as you see fit. Yeah, the whole health and social care is very much about engaging, and you're saying they would be expected to undertake work placements. Okay, yeah, so you're involving employers in different ways and developing stuff in partnership. There's I'll share with you some examples from across the sector of similar kinds of work in a wee while. One of the things that I was looking at that Billy very helpfully sent up was your own essential skills policy, which is stated to incorporate the SQA skills for learning, life and work. And you've got the broad categories there. And I think that, there's your thinking skills there, because we were talking about that metacognition and, what does that actually mean? And these are all integrated, as I understand it, in the work that you do. So you're covering all of the ones that the employers are looking at within your essential skills matrix and discussed during guidance and opportunities sought to develop and reflect on those, and in wider achievement outside the curriculum environment. So that is really looking at the whole approach to skills development and recognising the skills there. So moving on again, how good is our college? The framework from Education Scotland, in section 2 of that report, which is about delivery of learning and services to support learning. The points that are above on that slide actually ask us to provide evidence of how we engage with labour market intelligence in designing our curriculum. So what is important in the local area? What are the priorities? And to what extent does that drive the way that we deliver our curriculum, the way that we work with different employers, and to what extent do we implement those priorities in our delivery, and how do we gather and use the views of external stakeholders to improve the way that we're preparing our learners for the future. How well do curriculum teams plan delivery of skills for learning, life and work to enable learners to attain and achieve more widely? That's very clearly stated in your own policy there. And how effectively do curriculum teams ensure work placement and work experience opportunity develop those skills for employability? And you've got those reflective activities there as well. And some of the students that you have may well have part-time jobs that they do alongside their study, and capturing some of the skills from those areas of their life would be helpful for that as well. And then the whole thing about career management skills, and you talked about the role play of interview skills, which is one aspect of the whole career management skills. And I think as well, there are so many things that are thrown at us, including the My World of Work. Do the SDS portal, how many of you use or actively use My World of Work with your learners? the bullet point, while you're thinking about that, if you could share that in the text box, that would be really helpful. But when you're thinking about that, the whole career management skills looks at self and personal strengths and horizons, and then networks. And I think it's quite an interesting approach, and it kind of dovetails with the Aspect Test report, you know, about exploring the world of work and understanding what's out there and what they are seeking, what different employers are seeking. And that relates back to the video as well, because they were very keen to emphasise that they expect applicants to have some knowledge, have done some research, and have some knowledge of the company when they're applying and before they come for interview. So some of you have used it. I think it's used very widely in schools, or it appears to be used very widely in schools across the country, and it has been improved enormously over the last couple of years, and there's a huge range of resources on My World of Work. And indeed, we've worked with SDS to develop a college ambassador program of learners who understand My World of Work and can encourage other learners to use it. It's based on their schools ambassadors, and that was senior pupils who would support the use of the resource with younger pupils. And we've certainly done a pilot project in 2 of the colleges here, and the results of that again are on our website. Do you find, those of you who've used My World of Work, do you find it useful, and do you find that your learners have previous experience of it? Okay, good. Moving on to having a look at the recognition, articulating and evidencing of essential skills. So how do you do that? What is the most effective ways for you in terms of ensuring that your students know the skills and attributes that they've developed and are indeed developing? Being quite clear about those can help people a lot in terms of interviews, so that they've researched it, they've reflected on it, it becomes part of how they would describe themselves, and so they can come across a bit more confident in the interview context, or indeed a lot depending on the courses people may be applying for. If they're going to university, they often have to reflect on, in terms of their UCAS statement, the skills that they have and why they are suitable for whatever degree course that they're aspiring to become students on. Reflective journals and reflective reports, and I think that the whole approach with reflective skills is important, because that then becomes a skill that you've got beyond your learning context and how you develop within work. Because if we think about employability as about not just getting the job, but keeping it and progressing within it as well. And the personal development portfolios, yeah. Oh, and you've updated them for this session, so it's good. The other one that is used in a few colleges, we've been doing a pilot with this one as well. It's called What You Do With What You've Got, and it's an online web-based reflective tool, and it was developed by staff at West College Scotland, and it's based on 40 skills divided between the 4 capacities of Curriculum for Excellence. And indeed, they won an award, that college won an award for the use of that tool within their practice. In the college, it's called YES, which is Your Essential Skills. But there is a website around that tool, and you can have a look at that as well if you're interested in that. But the way that they use that is that during lessons at the very end, learners are encouraged to reflect on the skills they've developed and complete. They own the tool and they complete some thoughts, but the lecturers have the ability to go in and add some comments to the student experience as well, so that can validate their skills or maybe help them to think about what they need to do next. And then at the end of that, they've got clear evidence for applications, but also in terms of skill development, the curriculum teams can look at where some skills are maybe not being developed particularly strongly within their classes, and it gives them the opportunity to reflect on that as professionals and how they might provide opportunity to achieve some of the other skills that are maybe not being developed by their students. So it's a twofold one, and I think some of the schools are now using this as well, and I think the Nicholson Institute showed some interest in that tool in the past, but I don't know if that has translated into them actually being in a position to use it. So, thinking about your own ideas, what do you feel you do well in terms of employability, and what do you feel you would like to improve? I think there's lots of good practice being shared there already. So maybe if we focus on what the challenges are that you think you have about employability. A few of you typing just now. Yeah, lesson evaluation and seeking student feedback is an important way of identifying what needs to be done. Improving employer links. Are there a lot of demands on the employers in a smaller community to get involved in education? Because I know the schools will be key to involve employers as well. The whole DYW agenda is about bringing education and employment closer together, right throughout the school experience and into college as well. Yeah, sharing good practice within the college is really important, I think. And lots of people do feedback to us that they don't get enough time to do that. And staff development days are a good way of finding that time and space to do that. I don't know how easy it is for you to get away in terms of both cost and time to attend events here, but we certainly try very hard to run national events that have time for people to share good practice, as well as us trying to capture case studies that we can put on our website for people to refer back to, or for those people who are unable to attend. So what I was going to do for the last wee bit of the session was to have a look at some case studies from across the sector and bring examples from the development of Learner Employability in Scotland's Colleges report, which of course you can access yourselves, and some of the examples from the CDN awards that were awarded last year. So that would be in November 2016, because the ones for this year have not been judged yet. Or I think they have been judged, but we're unaware of what the awards are. So the first one here is the West College Scotland Your Essential Skills. That was the web-based reflective tool that I was talking about before. They were the award winner in the Essential Skills category, and that was about capturing those skills, articulating those skills. The highly commended award went to Borders College. So these are just some examples from the CDN awards in terms of employer engagement and essential skills development. The next one that I've got is the commended award, which was Forth Valley College, and it was a wind turbine project. And to achieve that, the core and essential skills team worked very closely with the construction department, and students were building and testing domestic wind turbines out of all sorts of different materials, but that seemed to work very well for them. Some of the interesting ones from the Employer Connections Award, because we were talking about engaging with employers, and the award winner last year was Dundee and Angus College, and that was about connecting industry to future opportunity. and they created industry advisory boards across different curriculum areas that are listed there. And that was to help them to ensure that they were teaching to the latest industry standards and using new knowledge and new ways of working. And in addition to that, they also had engagement with over 500 businesses to add value to courses through the work experience opportunities. And I see that Sheila has shared that you have as part of your employer strategy, the 2 employer fairs held annually, so that, you know, obviously that will bring in quite a lot of employers from your local area as well. There's quite a few colleges that take that approach in their colleges as well. The highly commended award in the Employer Connections category was Glasgow Clyde College, and that was achieving excellence through partnership. That was what they called their case study there, and that was primarily in terms of engineering and the partners that they used there. And you can see that some of the big engineering companies based in the west of Scotland there. And again, they emphasise the fact that college staff, CPD from the employers, ensuring, you know, currency of industry practices and their ability to respond flexibly and positively through those connections and through that CPD to meet employer aspirations and expectations of students joining the industry when they leave college. And then the commended one was in health and social care, and it was Dumfries and Galloway College, and an effective partnership with NHS and the whole personal care and the agenda of the health and social care workforce. And there's been a lot of work that's come out of that, and they offer foundation apprenticeships in care, and we know that that's one of the growing areas of employment in Scotland with our ageing population. Some of the other case studies that are available in the Education Scotland Aspect Task Report was about Edinburgh College have a Creative Industries Day, so they're a bit similar to your employer fair perhaps, but they do focus on how to search for jobs and how to apply for them, and that is done through panels of staff and employers, and the students get the opportunity to spend a whole day exploring that. And they also look at developing the career management skills through on-course guidance, and that's similar to what you do with preparing for the work placement and then reflecting on the experience afterwards. Other ones include West Highland College, and for some of the outdoor adventure leadership programs, students can also gain other awards, such as from British Canoeing or Scottish Cycling. So they're integrating other kinds of qualifications and through that other kinds of skills and experience into the courses. So there's a variety of different examples within that report, and the case studies are written up throughout the body of the report, so that's one that you can look at online. The other couple of case studies that I was going to highlight for you was student engagement opportunities within the college. Dundee and Angus have a programme through the learner engagement team, which is called Engage Me, and they have it in terms of engaging students in lots of different areas, and they call it Educate Me. So giving students the opportunity to get involved in different kinds of cross-college projects, peer mentoring, encouraging them to take part in surveys and the student rep training and things like that. They talk about Represent Me in terms of the student congress or maybe sitting on a board or committee, and obviously from all of these opportunities comes the opportunity to develop skills. And they have Motivate Me, which is a large event. I think it takes place over a number of days in the college, and they encourage students to get involved in planning that and delivering that. And then the Develop Me is volunteering opportunities, not just in the community, but they've got a college shop as well. and reflecting on the skills they learn from that. And again, they have a tool where they capture that skills development. And then they have things like Healthy Me, which is like getting an active role in sports and being mindful of their well-being, and things like that. They've got a huge range of activities within the formal programme. New College Lanarkshire heard the team from Dundee and Angus presented at one of our events a few years ago, and they developed their own programme which they called Be Engaged, and through that they've managed to encourage many more students to get involved across the whole college, and from that to learn lots of skills, develop lots of skills, and demonstrate utilising them in different contexts. That is more or less what I was hoping to get through today, and I just wondered if you've got from those case studies any further ideas that could work in your own context. If you want to add them to the chat box, then that would be great. I would encourage you to have a look on our website because there are a lot of resources there. We also have an Essential Skills video series. It's 3 videos and it tracks 2 characters, Danny and Aidan, who both have completely different skill sets, different personalities, and it tracks them from going through the interview process to starting on a new job, and then the change in dynamics when they get a new boss. And those videos are accompanied by some resources and some tutor notes to help you plan lessons around that. The final one doesn't have resources with it as yet, but we will be working on that. So those are other resources that you could use as well. When you say you're taking specialists to give advice on CVs and interview techniques, is that the careers advisors from SDS or is it employers, Billy? I think as well CVs, the sort of preferred format of CVs, or they're from UHI, okay. The preferred format for CVs have kind of changed over time as well, so it's good to be keeping up to date with all of that. I think when I was a student, they were quite boring, and now they're much more sort of dynamic. If you think of anything else that you feel that we haven't covered today, or there's something that you would like a wee bit more information on, please do not hesitate to get in touch. I'd be happy to find things for you. There's a wealth of information out there, and sometimes it's just working out how to plough through all of it.